Okay, right. So we'll get started, Lamai, from focus area number 3. We'll try to wrap it up as soon as possible so that once this is done, we can move into the quiz. So I'll try my level best to finish it off before 10, but our ideal class time is from 7 to 10. But depending on how it goes, we'll try and finish things up. Okay. So this is a quick recap, not me teaching from scratch, but a quick recap of this entire area, economic systems. So economic systems, Lama, is focus area number 3 in unit 1. So these focus areas are ones that I have divided. This is not the education means to anything. I have divided, so it's easier for you all to study when you all are working on things. Okay. So we'll start off with Lamai. If you all remember, focus area number 2, we ended it with talking about the basic economic problems. Right? We talked about this, what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce, right? That is what we talked about. So then the question is, who answers this? Who is the one responsible of providing answers for the 3 basic economic problems? Is the government going to come and do it, or should we come and do it? So who is going to answer? So to answer these basic economic problems, Onilamai, what did people do? People have got together and formed something called an economic system. So to answer the basic economic problems, people create an institutional framework or a mechanism. That is what we call, Lamai, an economic system. So just like any other system, like in science, you have Lamai respiratory system, digestive system, there are components no, in each of those. So just like that, in an economic system also, we have multiple components. So you have the households, you have the government, you have the business firms, you have labor organizations, non-governmental organizations, and you have multiple different components, or we call this, Lamai, the elements of an economic system. So what's an economic system again? An economic system, Lamai, we say, is the mechanism or the institutional framework made by people to solve the basic economic problems. So then, based on this, Lamai, coming into the next part of it, how do you classify economic system? Now, these are part that most of you all actually don't know. Most of you all, Lamai, when you talk about economic systems, you all know market economy, you know command economy, but you don't know the broad classification. Listen carefully. There are questions that come from this area and it's tested indirectly. You don't even know that they're asking you on this. Okay, so listen. Now, if you take business organizations, you can classify them based on various criteria. Right? Most of you all have done business studies, at least for O levels you have done. So you can classify business organizations based on criteria. Can you all give me some criteria to classify business organizations? How can you classify? What criteria can you do? Okay, scale. So based on scale, you can say small, medium, large. Right? Based on ownership. And that's another criteria. Right? Private sector, public sector. Based on the objective, profit motive, non-profit. Based on the sector, agriculture. So likewise, Lamai, you have various criteria to what? Classify business organizations. No? So like you have various criteria to classify business organizations. There are, Lamai, 3 criteria to classify economic systems. What are the 3 criteria? First one is, Lamai, based on the decision coordination mechanism. So what is the decision coordination mechanism that they're using? Second one is, Lamai, based on the ownership of resources. And the third one is based on what? Is based on the type of incentives used. Drag your screen a bit, means zoom out. There is nothing that you're missing, guys. So my screen is, that's it. The screen fits the exact slide. I'm not very sure if you're missing on anything. Okay, so we'll go through one by one now. So starting with, Lamai, the decision coordination mechanism. Now, every economic system out there is there for what purpose? It is there to answer the basic economic problems, no? The what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce. So how do they answer this? How do they decide on this? So if the economic system uses, Lamai, price mechanism to answer the basic economic problems, we call it a market economy. If the economic system uses something called planning mechanism to answer the basic economic problems. We call it a command, or we can call it lamai, a planned economic system. That's the first criteria. And the decision coordination mechanism. If they use price mechanism, it's a market economy. If they use lamai command planning mechanism, it's a command or a planned economic system. The second criteria is lamai based on the ownership of resources. Who owns the resources in the economy? If the resources are owned by the private sector, okay, then we call it lamai a capitalist economy. See, now when the resources now in a MCQ lamai, if they give you resources owned by the private sector, right? This economy is called a what? If they give you two options saying market economy, capitalist economy, what's the correct one? The correct term is lamai capitalist. If resources are owned by the private sector, we call it a capitalist economy. If resources are owned by the public sector or maybe the government, we call that lamai a socialist economic system. That is the second criteria. First criteria is the decision coordination mechanism. How do they make their decisions? Price mechanism now, if that's what they are using, we call it a market economy. If they are using planning mechanism, we call it a command or a planned economy. If their second criteria is who owns the resources, the land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, who owns it? If the private sector owns it, we call it a capitalist economy. If the government owns it, we call it a socialist economy. Now here, there are nice, interesting questions that come in this line. So I'll explain that to you. Listen, when you're doing the past papers, you all will come across this. Now, can you all tell me, a market economy lamai will usually be what? Will usually be a capitalist or a socialist? I'm asking you, in a market economy, will they usually have private ownership of resources or government ownership of resources? So market economy is an economy where they use price mechanism. So in an economy that is using price mechanism, my question to you is a market economy usually capitalist or socialist? It is usually capitalist. A market economy that uses price mechanism usually has private sector ownership. Does it necessarily have to have lamai? Does a market economy necessarily does it have to become capitalist? Does it definitely have to be a capitalist? Not really. A market economy lamai, you could also have it as a socialist. Now that is what we'll talk about. I'll give you an example as well, lamai. That's what you call a socialist market economy. What is the example I would have given you all in class? For a socialist market economy, they use price mechanism, so market, but socialist. That means government owns the resources. What's the example? I've given you all lamai, China. Remember I told you, in China, even the house that you live is owned by the government. Now in Sri Lanka, the house that you live is under your name, no? Your parents or grandparents, and the house deed is under their name, no? But in China, it's not like that. In China, lamai, the house that you live is also owned by the government. The government is giving you the house to live. It's under their name, not under your name. So, socialist, government owns the resources. But if you take China, when deciding on answering the basic economic problems, lamai, they use price mechanism. When deciding what to produce, how to produce and all, they use lamai. They use what? They use price mechanism. That's why you call it a socialist market. So I want you all to properly understand that, lamai. Market economy and capitalist economy is not the same. Market economy is where they use price mechanism. Yeah, listen. A market economy is an economic system, lamai, that uses price mechanism. A capitalist economy is an economy that the private sector owns the resources. There are two different criteria. Just like lamai, for example, business organizations, when you classify, you can classify based on scale, small, medium, large. You can classify based on ownership. So for example, a business that is a small business, it could have private sector ownership. A small business, it could even have public sector ownership. So the separate criteria lamai. Usually lamai, a market economy will have private ownership of resources. That is why I said usually a market economy is a capitalist. Usually. But not necessarily. It doesn't always have to be that way. You could have an economy which is a market economy. That means an economy that is using price mechanism, but the resources are owned by the government. Market socialist. That is what you call a socialist market economy. Example I'm giving you, something like China. Government owns the resources, but they allocate those resources based on price mechanism. Same thing works the other way around. Now, if you take a command economy, can you tell me a command economy is usually what? Capitalist or socialist? Command or a planned economy? Is usually a command or a planned economy is usually a socialist. Usually it is a socialist one. Government owns the resources. But does it necessarily have to happen that way? Could there be a command economy that has private ownership? You could have. There are no real world examples for this though. I can't give a country like I gave in China, but there could be Lamai. There are two separate criteria. Now that is what in past papers they sometimes ask. When you do the past papers for focus area 3, you will be doing it this week. No? There is a question that asks, are market economies necessarily capitalist? And are command economies necessarily socialist? The answer is no. They are necessarily never. So you have to explain the criteria. So this is based on this and this. This is based on this and this. So market economy usually yes, but not necessarily. That story you have to explain when you are doing the past papers. You all will see. Why is it called Democratic Social Republic of Sri Lanka? Don't worry too much about that now, because those names have been formed let's say around 100 years ago. So then how they exactly put those words and what it exactly means in economic terms doesn't really match. So don't worry too much about that stuff. Okay. Those are the first two criteria. Then you have Lamai, the third criteria. What is the third criteria? That is based on the incentives. What is incentive, Lamai? Incentive is what makes you do something. Now, if I ask you, why did you come to today's class? No, commanding not only socialist, it could be capitalist also. Why did you come to today's class? What made you come to this? Democratic means people have the power. People can do what they want. So don't worry too much about the word democratic. Why do you come to today's class, Lamai? Some of you are saying, right, to learn something, to get a good result, all of that. Some of you all would have come. Some of you came for the quiz. Nice. Some of you all would have come, Lamai, because someone would have forced you to come. No? Anyone like that? Your mother is always behind your back. Your mother remembers when your classes are more than you also. Your mother knows Tuesday night you have econ revision classes. Now, mother saw that you got the free tutes also. So she knows you have. So she forces you and tell, look here, if you don't go, tomorrow I will not send you out. Something like that. Because she's calling you and forcing you, that is why you came. Some people would have come for that reason. That is why you came. So what is an incentive? An incentive is what makes you do something. So there are mainly two types of incentives. One is a material incentive. A material incentive is you do something because you get something. A producer will do something because they can earn a profit. A consumer will buy something because they are getting a benefit. That's why when I asked you all, why did you come to this class? Most of you all told, I want to learn, sir. I want to get a good grade, sir. That's why you came to class. That is material incentive. You came, you did this because you're getting something. Then the other type of incentive is coercive incentives. That is where you're doing something because someone forced you to do it. You have no other option. You had to do it. Like your mother telling you, if you don't go to class today, let's see what will happen. Let's say you have asked permission to go out tomorrow with your friends. Then your mother comes and tells, if you don't go to class today, tomorrow you're not going out. So why did you come to class today? Not because you want to learn, because your mother forced and told you, "Giye nattang balaga." We'll see what will happen. That is why you came to class. That is what you call a coercive incentive. You're doing something because you're forced to do. So usually a market economy lamai will have material incentives. An economy that has material incentives is most likely a market one. But a command one, like let's say countries like North Korea, there lama you have no option. Government will do everything. They will tell you buy this, you have to buy that. You can't say no, I want this, I want that bad. So you do something because you're forced to do it now. So in a command economy, this coercive incentive is very popular. Yeah. Market economy, you have material. In a command economy, it's mostly coercive. And then Lama, you have another incentive. That is what you call moral incentives. Now, based on moral incentives, you can't really classify your economy. It's just there, right? Now, moral incentive is Lama, you do something because you think that is the good thing to do. The example I give you all in classes, now sometimes when you all are going in the bus, you see like an old person who gets it. Then you stand up and Lama, you give your seat. Now, did you give your seat because of a material incentive? Did you give your seat because you're getting some sort of a benefit? No, just because you're also tired after school, right? You stood and gave your seat, Paune, that fellow you gave. So are you getting anything? No, no material incentive. Did someone force you to? Did the conductor say, "Hey, taking a seat," then no, someone next to you told, stand up and give the seat now? No, no one forced you, not a coercive also. Why did you give the seat? You gave the seat in the bus because you felt like that is the correct thing to do. You felt, based on your values, your things, you felt right. This person is harder than me for him to stand and go. So I'll give the seat. That is what you call them moral incentives. So based on moral incentives, you can't really classify your economic system. You can't say moral incentives DNA in a market. You can't say that. That will, in general, it will be there in all type of economic systems. That's the third classification Lamai, based on the incentives used. What is the incentive? What makes you do something? If you're doing something for you to get a benefit, that's called a material incentive, seen in a market economy. If you're doing something because someone is forcing you to do it, Anna, that's a coercive incentive. That is usually seen in a command economy. So these Lamai are the criteria of classifying an economic system. The first two are the ones that is very important because usually people confuse market and capitalist. They think market and capitalist exact same thing. It doesn't have to be the same thing. So you need to know that difference. Now, when you do the past papers, you will see, this is what they have asked here. Because otherwise, what happens, Lama, when doing the past papers, you don't even realize that they're testing it from this area. You all do the past paper questions. There will be questions in the division paper 3 also. Then you all will realize, this is what is testing. Okay, have that in mind. So with that broad classification in mind, in our syllabus, Lamai, in generally, we talk about market, command, and mixed economy. The capitalist, socialist, we don't go into very detail there. So we talk about a market economy, we talk about a command economy, and then we talk about a mixed economy. Now for the rest of this unit, rest of this focus area, let's go through these three economic systems. So we'll start, Lamai, with a market economy. Now you all know this, so I'm going a little fast. What's a market economy? Market economy, I told you, Lamai, before. That's US. So a market economy is an economy that solves the basic economic problems using what? Using price mechanism. So here they have, Lamai, what do they use? They use the price mechanism. And then I also told you a market economy usually will have what? Private ownership of resources, and the private sector will own the resource. That's what number one is, private ownership of resources. And then, Lamai, in a market economy, government doesn't get involved much. No? Very limited role for the government. Government doesn't get involved much. It's the market economy that runs the whole thing. A good example is US. But now in US also, Trump is getting involved a little too much with all his tariffs and all of that. But in general, a market economy, government doesn't get involved much. Government is just there to do the bare minimum. The private sector is the one who runs it. So then there is a lot of freedom, lamai, because the private sector runs the whole thing. Yeah, there's a lot of competition. So everyone can come and produce anything they want, right? So now think of only the government doing. Now, if you take, lamai, let's say someone like North Korea, that's the opposite of this. So in North Korea, lamai, only the government gets involved. So when only the government gets involved, what happens? You don't have much choice. No? If you have schools, only government schools are there, no other option, you only have to go to that. Let's say food also, you don't have a lot of varieties, whatever the basic government provides, you have to get. Exactly, maybe not having freedom. But in a market economy, it's the opposite. You have the freedom of choice, the freedom of entrepreneurship. You can start your business, you can buy whatever you want. And also there is a lot of competition. There is a competitive market situation. Now you need to understand these numbers so that you realize that the government is a command economy is the opposite of this. Not that the government doesn't have a role, Lamai. Government has a very limited role. What is that limited role? We will learn that in unit number 8. Right? In unit number 8, that's a very interesting one, Lamai. Unit number 8, okay, we'll talk about something called market failure. Now we are studying this market economy. In unit 8, we learn how this market economy fails, right? How it causes different problems and how it ends up failing. And as a result, how the government comes to correct that market failure. We learn that in unit number 8. That's 50% of unit number 8 level. So I'll leave it at that point. We'll not go there. So then the other ones I have, incentive based on self-interest. In a market economy, Lamai, you will do things for your self-interest. You don't care about the society at all. Now, when I asked you all, why did you come to this class? All of you all told me, sir, I want to get an A, I want to pass. No one told me, sir, I want to learn this and go and teach my friend. I want to teach my siblings. Nothing like that. No? You were not thinking about the society. You're doing this because you can get something. I am doing the class because I can earn some profit. We are doing this for our self-interest, lover. That's not a bad thing. So that's the market economy, right? And then operation of price mechanism is there. And then we have like consumer sovereignty. What is consumer sovereignty? Consumer sovereignty is like where the consumer is the most important person. Based on what the consumer wants, only my producers will produce. Now, in a market economy, if consumers want this, producers will then produce. Not that the government or now in a command economy, it's the opposite. In a command economy, government will produce whatever they want. People are forced to buy that. People have no option. But in a market economy, it's the other way. What the people want, only the businesses will produce. That's what you call consumer sovereignty. Consumer is the most important person out there. So those are the characteristics of a market economy. Invisible hand is what we call this price mechanism. Now, when you try to do anything, something that makes you do something is the price of that good. Now, for example, if I ask you, why did most of you all register for the first month of this class? Why did you all register? Without thinking twice, you all registered. No? Why? Because it was free. You didn't even think twice. No, did you ask your parents' permission? Nothing. Someone would have sent you a link somewhere, right? And all of a sudden, what did you do? You clicked on the link. There was a Google form to fill kara, tutes also came. There was a WhatsApp group to join. You joined that also. Now you're coming to class. That's why you came, right? You didn't even think twice. So what made you? So that is what you call the invisible hand. So price acts as an invisible hand. The price makes you do things, Lamai. So for example, when the price of a good is like very high, then it will motivate the producer to go and supply that. If the price of a good is like say very low, that will motivate the consumer to go and buy more of it. So that's that invisible hand story. You don't have to go too much about it. Decentralized Lamai, that decisions are not made by one person. Centralized decision making means it's made by one person. But decentralized means everyone makes decisions. That's what decentralized decision making is. Incentives based on self-interest means now in a market economy, you will do something for your self-interest. No, you will not think of social welfare. You will think, if you can get something, you will do. If producers can get profit, they will produce. If consumers can get a benefit from that, they will consume. They are not going to think, is this good for the society? Now, think of a producer who is producing alcohol. If he can get a profit from it, he will produce. Self-interest. He will only think of himself. Will he think of, if I sell alcohol, people will get drunk, health issues, they might go and knock people in the road, car accidents. Do they think of that? No. That's what you say here. So here, Lama, you have in a market, always remember, you have decentralized decision making. Decentralized means, Lama, the opposite of centralized. In a planned economy, you have centralization making. A central planning authority makes all the decisions. But here, everyone can make decisions. Now, that's what we call decentralized decision making. So that's a market economy there. Then we'll go into, Lama, this price mechanism a little bit more in detail. What is this price mechanism and what are the functions of price in a market economy? So what is price mechanism? We call this the main coordination mechanism. What is this? Price mechanism, Lama, you all study in unit number 2. The market forces, demand and supply. So how does the price and all of a good get determined, Lama? Based on demand and supply, no? That's the whole price mechanism story. So in an economy, any transaction, right, how the price and all gets determined is based on the demand and supply for that good. You see, price mechanism refers to the system where the forces of demand and supply determine the prices of commodities and the changes therein. So if the price is going to change, then the demand or supply has to change. So it's the buyers and sellers who actually determine the price. So the buyer based on their demand and the seller based on their supply will be the ones who determine this whole thing. Decision making, yes, can be a feature. That's the thing that I told. So then, what are the functions of price, Lamai? What functions do price play in a market economy? First one is the signaling function, or we call this, Lamai, the informative function. Price provides information. Price provides signals. Now, I'll ask you, what if, Lamai, for a certain good, the price is continuously increasing? What signal is it giving, Lamai? Is it a signal that there is so much of that good, that is why the price is increasing? Or is it giving a signal like, there is like a shortage of that good? So many people want to buy, not much of that good is there. That is why it's increasing. What signal does it give, Lamai? Now, if you take, for example, take vegetables. In certain times, Lamai, certain vegetable prices, remember 1 year ago, around in February, last year in February, carrot was, Lamai, 2,500 rupees. Why? What signal did that give, Lamai? The fact carrot was 2,500. What signal did it give? Other vegetables were normal. Carrot was 2,500. People want to buy, but there is no carrot. There is a lot of demand, but no supply. So the signal is, it's giving a signal to the producers. Look here, there might be a shortage of that. If you can go and produce more. That is a signal it gives, Lamai. So price gives you information. When the price of a good is continuously rising, what's the signal? What's the information it gives you? There must be a shortage. That's why it's rising. Okay, because the demand might be more than the supply. That's what you call a shortage. So go and produce more. What if, Lamai, sometimes the prices of goods continuously keep coming down? Certain even vegetables like tomatoes and all, Lamai, sometimes it's very cheap in the market. What is that signaling? Price is continuously coming down. It's a signal that, there is so much of tomatoes. That is why this price is coming down. If you can stop producing, then enough. See, that's signaling, Lamai. So that's the signaling function. The second one is, Lamai, the incentive function. So when the price of a good is very high, it's an incentive. It's a motivating factor. For whom? For the producer. When the price increases, it will motivate the producer to go and produce more. It incentivizes. When the price comes down, it's a motivation for the consumer. Now, that is why you came to this class. When the price comes down, so many people come to class. I give it for free or I give you a discount, and you all come. See, that's the incentive function. And then finally, you have the rationing function. Rationing function is also called the allocative function. Okay. Tell me now. Okay, now next month, the amount of revision class students that will join. So now usually even in my classes, I have a limit that I have in mind. I don't take more than that because now even in right now in my fast track class also, I have limited it. First, I want to limit it 300, but very hard to limit at 300. I now kept it at 350. So probably for your batches also, I will put it at a limit. Not that anyone can join at any time. At one point, I will call it a limit because I have to mark the papers. I have to track you because I'm responsible of, making sure you get the work done, taking you to that result. No, I'm talking about we can get island rank, we can get a result. I will cover the syllabus so many times. But if you all don't get the result, then what's the point of me? So I also try to, limit it to a certain level so that it's easy for me to track. I know who are the people who come. I monitor and see who are the people submitting answers, who are not submitting answers, fellows. I drop a text and see what is happening, right? So I do that. So let's say, Lamai, next month, I'll just give you a simple example. Let's say I decided only to take 200 students to my revision class. Right now, free month in the there is around 400. Other Satya group, there is around 50, 450 other. But I decided, okay, next month I'm only going to take 200 students, paid people into this. Let's say 300 people want to come. So there is a demand for 300. Class fees for the revision class, I told you, if you're only coming for revision, then you have to pay around 3,200. Yeah. Combined fee, there is offer. So what do you think I will do now, Lavai? I realized I only want to take 200. Let's say I have a physical class. Physical class, I only have 200 tables and chairs. So there is no way I can take more. 300 people outside my outside the institute willing to join. What will I do? How can I allocate 200 seats for 300 people who are willing to come and join my class? How do I do? What can I do with the price stick? How does price help you allocate? How does price help you ration? How does price help me ration or allocate 200 seats for 300 people? I will definitely increase the price. I will tell y'all, now look here, class fees is not 3,200, class fees is 4,000. So then only the people who can afford it, only the people who are really willing to pay will come. No? So until this demand goes down to 200, I will keep on increasing the price. That's exactly what happens with World Cup cricket matches also. So that's the story. That's the rationing function. How do you allocate things with price? Yeah. Now, okay, what do you think, Lama, I might do? I'll give you the other thing. Let's say, Lama, I have a classroom with 200 students. Only 50 students are willing to join, Lama. What do you think I can do now? What can I do with the price? I have capacity for 200 people in the class. I have printed 200 tutes also. Only 50 have joined. So how can I allocate 200 seats for only 50 fellows who are coming? I will reduce the price now on allocative function. That's the story diagram. Those are the three functions of price in a market economics. So remember the functions. Done. Then we'll go into this part. Advantage, this one, there is a part I will go into. Someone asked me the importance of Lamai private property rights. Now, I'm not going to read this note word by word, but listen. Okay. Lamai, what is private property rights? Private property rights is the right that you have to do anything with your property. Maybe to sell it, maybe to modify it. So your property could be a house, it could be anything that you own. The right that you have to do anything with your property is what you call a property right. Okay. Now we'll take an example of Lamai, a house. Okay. Now take your house that you are living. How can you, Lamai, prove that this is your house? How do you prove that? How do you prove your property right? Do you have some sort of a document? How do you prove it, Lamai? That may house like oyage kiyala. You have a house deed, no? So you have a house deed. So then if tomorrow if I come to your house and say, look here, this is my house, then then you will show me, sir, look here, this is the house deed, this is our name, this is our house here. And you can prove. But now, who gives you this house deed? In Sri Lanka, who gave you this house deed? Not your grandfather, lamai. Who gave it to your grandfather? Someone from some government authority, no, right? So some from the government gave you this house deed. So this house deed is what gave you that property right. Now think of a market economy. In a market economy, we say there is a very limited role of the government. So there is no government to do all of these nonsense. Government is not there. Then in a market economy, where the private sector is running the whole show, private sector is the one doing everything. Where does the property right come from? And that's the problem. Because why? If you don't have property rights, lamai, you will not produce. Now, for example, take a farmer. That's what I would have given here in the example, right? So if you take lamai a farmer, you all can read this note later. A farmer, let's say lamai, he has a plot of land. Do you think lamai the farmer will go and cultivate? If tomorrow someone else comes and says, look here, this is my land, and they pluck everything and go, farmer won't cultivate, because does the farmer have any way of proving? There is no deed, there is nothing, there is no property right. So if there is no property right, no one will produce lamai, because people are scared someone else will come and take it. And because how are you going to prove? How are you going to say, nah, make a mage ekak? Now, for example, now let's say, okay, this whole iTutor thing, institute that I have built, I don't have any other teachers, only econ. I don't have my motive is not to increase my profits by getting more and more teachers, charging a commission from them. I have no incentive like that. I just want to do my thing. So I have registered a company called iTutor. It's under my name. I am the only teacher also, but I have people working for me, admin staff and all are there. We don't have business studies classes. We don't have accounting classes. We have no other classes. Okay. Then if someone tomorrow comes and says, look here, this is my business, takes everything and will I ever start a business like that then? So if a producer is scared that someone else might come and take it, Lama, they will never produce. No? Simple farmer story. So if there is no property rights, there will be no production. No one will produce, Lama. Now even think of your savings. Now, when you put money in your bank, Lamai, how do you prove that there is money in your bank? How do you prove that there is money in your bank? How do you prove that this is my money, this is how much I have? What does the bank give you? They give you something called a passbook, no? Remember when you open a bank? Now there are electronic versions and all of it. They give you a passbook. So with that passbook, all details are there. Your name, your ID, your date of birth, your account number, everything is there. So that is the document that gives you the property right. Now let's say there is nothing called a passbook. There's nothing called a passbook. You just went to a bank, you deposited 100,000 rupees. Now 1 month later, you're coming to withdraw your money. Now you're saying, our bank, remember, 1 month ago I put 100,000. Now give me. What if the bank says, what 100,000? When did you put? I thought you gave me that 100,000. You never told you're coming back to take it. So how are you going to prove no, me mage 100,000 එක මම දැම්මේ කියලා? So if there is no property rights lamai, you will have no savings. So no savings can, you all know the story. We learned last time. No savings can, no investment. No investment can, no capital formula. In very simple terms, lamai, if there is no property rights in an economic system, the economic system will collapse. There won't be economy. There won't be trade also. No production can, no trade. No, if no one is producing, how are you going to trade? What are you going to sell? So if there is no property rights, an economy can't function. Now, usually in an economy, government gives it. So then in a market economy, you have to have someone who takes the responsibility and establish this. Because if now, not that there is no property rights in a market economy, it's just that there is no government to give you these property rights. So in the market economy, maybe the private sector or maybe even the government. Government has a very limited role. No? So you should at least ask the government, right, you have a limited role, at least do this and give for us. So there has to be some mechanism, like maybe the private sector involving, or maybe now usually it's the government's limited role is what they do. And now even if you think like, let's say a country like US, it's closer to a market economy. But who provides the business registration? Who provides the land deeds and all? Government has a limited role. So there still has to be that limit. You can't ideally have a market economy. It's a pure market also, where there is no government at all, because the private sector might not be capable of doing all of this. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. So there is a past paper question asking, what is the importance of this private property? So you need to explain. You need to say, if there are no private property rights, there will not be production. No production can no trade. Then there will not be savings. No savings can no investment, no capital formulation. The economy will not function if there is no property right. That's why it's very important to have property rights. So who has to establish? Maybe government with their very limited role might have to do, or the private sector has to take some initiative to get that done. That is the story there. Okay, done. Disadvantage price mechanism is a disadvantage of market economy. So now coming into Lamai, how does this market economy answer the basic economic problems? Now, I told you, economic system is there to answer these problems. No? So how does the market economy answer this then? So how does a market economy answer the question what to produce? Remember, Lamai, to answer the question of what to produce, they will use price mechanism. Remember, we talked about the signaling function earlier. The producers, Lamai, they will look at the price signals. They will see, which goods prices are increasing, which goods prices are coming down. If I supply this, then how much can I earn as a profit? Okay, if I supply this, how much can I earn? So they will analyze now. They look at those price signals and see. Right now, for example, if you take, let's say, I don't know. What can I give you? Okay, let's say there is a product, Lamai. The demand is coming down for that. No one is buying that now. So then you look at the price signals. Yeah, that price, keep on coming down. So the producers will not produce that now. So you look at the price signal, you see, which could be profitable. All of that, you analyze it. And then what do you do, Lamai? Based on price mechanism, you will produce the most profitable goods and services. You will look at the different products that are there, and you will produce the most profitable goods and services. Yes, I will share this PDF, but if you have my theory tutorial, it's the same thing that is over here. Okay. And then how do you answer the how to produce it? Again, market economy, profit oriented. They will again look at the price mechanism. Now they will look at the price signals in the factor market. Okay, they will see, okay, if I use labor and produce this, how much is my cost? If I use capital and produces, how much is my cost? So they will see, they look at the price signals, and they will decide on a method that maximizes their profit and minimizes their cost. Then how does a market economy answer the whom to produce thing? That is a distribution thing. So do you think, Lamai, a market economy will worry about distributing all their goods equally? Or they have produced certain goods, will equally distribute it to everyone. Everyone has to get food, everyone has to get clothes. Do they care about that? No. How does the market distribute it, Lamai? They will see based on price mechanism. They will see, Lamai, who has the purchasing power. And based on price mechanism, they will see who has the purchasing power, who has the money. Whoever who has the money, whoever who can afford it, right? Remember that factor income story? Exactly. Whoever who can afford it will get the goods. Let's say the market has produced 100 loaves of bread. If there is one person rich enough to buy all 100, they will give it to them. The other people don't have bread, they don't care. So here, output will be distributed among parties with purchasing power. So that's how a market economy answers this basic economic problem. So I've given a summarized thing. You can go through a little bit more in detail, very highly tested in your papers. And then we come to the last part of a market economy. What are the advantages and disadvantages? So they can ask you this as advantage of a market economy, or they can ask you what are the advantages and disadvantages of price mechanism. Same thing. So these are a few things that I have got pictures from the internet. I'll add a few things also. So I'm not going into detail of each one of these now. So what's the good thing of a market economy? Because there is a lot of competition, right? So maybe a few things. Okay, can you all give me a few things? Can you all tell me now? A few advantages. Don't look at what is there on the screen. Just give me what do you all think is the good side of a market economy. Think about all the characteristics. Okay, higher consumer choice. So consumer has a lot of choice. Good. Then Lamai, what can you tell about the quality? Because there is so much of competition. What can you say? Because of increased competition, what do you think happens to Lamai? The quality of goods. The quality of goods will be high, no? Goods will have very good quality. Then what can you tell about Lamai? The innovation. When there is so much of competition, what can you tell about the innovation? Now, if I am the only econ teacher, Lamai, do you think I will do all of these different things? No, no. But if there's so much of competition, I will also try to be better than someone else. No. So because of increased competition, Lamai, you can talk about a lot of innovation that might happen. You can talk about that. What else can you say? I will earn more money. I won't give it as a advantage per se. Ah, responsive to change. You can easily change them because the government is not the one making this one. So you can easily make changes. You can talk about that. Yes, increased entrepreneurship, higher choice. So that I will give us variety of products as well. What else can you say? So a few points there, Lamai. Limited government role, or you can say less government related corruption. Maybe yes, minimize wastage. Okay. You can give a few points. So no, around 4 to 5. Can you give me the disadvantages, Lamai? What could be the problems? Income inequality. Now, in a market economy, they don't look at equally distributing. There could be a lot of income inequality. Okay. Anything? Market failure, Lamai, I'll talk about this. You can have, Lamai, this, right? You will learn this in unit number 8. Inefficiency in resource allocation. Sometimes they will allocate a lot of resources. Sometimes they will not allocate resources at all, right? You can have things like that. What's the disadvantage price mechanism? That's what I'm explaining, Lamai. So market economy price mechanism, if they say advantage, you can write the same thing. Advantage of market economy are the advantages of price mechanism. Okay. You can say yes, maybe exploiting labor, right? Because they will try to take the highest, lowest cost, right? Underproduction of public goods, correct? That goes with the inefficiency in market allocation, lack of public goods, ignoring externalities, right? You can give things like that. So no, around 4 to 5. Done. So that is the whole market economy. Yes, economic instability, right? Macroeconomic instability, all of that you can give. We learned that number in unit number 8 also. The whole market failure part will go into unit number 8. Okay. Means you cannot use the same exact resource and take the highest possible efficiency. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not very sure how the increased opportunity cost question came over here, but yeah. Right. Okay. So this is the market economy story. So just to go through quickly again, a market economy uses price mechanism. Private sector runs the whole thing. Then we looked at the whole price mechanism story, right? We looked at different things. So now we go to the opposite of that. That is what you call a command economy. Now, a command economy is something that is what? A command economy is an economy that is uses the planning mechanism. How do they answer the basic economic problems? They have something called the planning mechanism. Who makes the plans? You have someone called the central planning authority, right? That is like the government. So there is a central planning, or they have centralized decision making. And you have a central planning authority. They will only make the plans. Based on what they want only, they will only decide what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce. They are the ones who will talk of all of that. Okay. Then efficient resource allocation. No, that you can put as a disadvantage. You will say inefficiency in resource allocation. Sorry, if that is in the tute as efficient, cut it and make it inefficient. That will be a disadvantage. We'll go into that in detail in number 8. Okay, right. So then here you have Lamai public ownership of resources. Public means government owns the resources. They use the planning mechanism, central planning authority. They make plans. That's how they answer the whole thing. And then you can see Lamai these two act based on social welfare and act to achieve public well-being. Now, in a market economy, you looked at your self-interest. You did whatever that is good for you. You didn't care about the society. But here, you look at social welfare. You try to achieve public well-being. You try to look at what is good for the society, what will benefit all of them. And that is the incentive. What can tell about Lamai? The role of the government. Is it limited or is it very high in a command economy? Role of the government is very high. What about Lamai, the level of competition? Is it high or low? Level of competition? Government is the only one doing. There is no competition. The competition will be low. What can you tell about Lamai? The income inequality here. Is there income inequality when the government runs the thing? Lamai? Now, in a market economy, now very high levels of income inequality. So here, there'll be low levels of income inequality. What about Lamai? Consumer choice and innovation. What can you say? Consumer, does the consumer have consumer sovereignty? What he wants, only they will produce. What about this? That is also not there, right? There is not much. So consumer choice and innovation is also comparatively very low or almost very limited. So that's a planning mechanism. A country like North Korea, you can think of a country like that, North Korea, Cuba. So these are planned economies or command economies. Okay. So then how do these command economies answer these basic economic problems? Now, this has to be different from a market economy. A market economy, do you all remember? How do they answer the what to produce thing? A market economy, they looked at what are the most profitable goods and services, right? They looked at that. And then based on price signals, they saw what are the profitable, they produced that. But Lamai, do you think a command economy, where the central planning authority, where the government is running, they will try to produce the most, plan command say, do you think they will try to produce the most profitable ones? Their motive is social welfare, no? What do they do, Lamai? A command economy, Lamai, they will solve it based on the plans made by the central planning authority. In other words, the planning mechanism. So what they will do is, Lamai, they will do a small input-output analysis. So they will see, okay, these are the resources that we have. With these resources, these are the goods that we can produce. Then they will see, if I use these inputs, okay, these are the outputs. Okay, what will give me the highest benefit to the public? Which one does the public want right now? Based on that, Anna, they will produce, they will do a small input-output analysis and they will produce the goods that give the greatest social welfare, not the most profitable ones. Now, market economy produces the most profitable goods because they were self-interest oriented. But these guys produce the goods with the greatest social welfare. Yeah, by 10, I will be able to finish the one. Okay. Then the next one, the how to produce thing. The how to produce thing is, what is this? The how to produce thing is where, again, central planning authority, planning mechanism, they will see which one gives the highest benefit to the public. You can't necessarily say, Lama, it will be labor intensive. So they will see, okay, right now, okay, let's say right now, so many people have lost jobs. Or maybe then right now, okay, labor intensive might be a good thing. But they will decide, okay, which one, labor intensive or capital intensive, which one gives the highest benefit to the public. Usually labor intensive gives highest benefit, but don't necessarily go and say labor intensive. It doesn't have to be. So whichever method that gives the highest benefit to the public is what they will go and decide. And then the whom to produce, Lamai, how will they distribute the goods? Market economy distributed goods to whoever who had purchasing power. You have money, come and take everything and go. How do you think these people will distribute, Lamai? A command economy or a planned economy will try to distribute the goods. How? They will try to, Lamai, distribute it equally as possible. How do they distribute equally? Can they go from one house to house and give, this is your loaf of bread, this is your loaf of bread, can you go like that and distribute equally? How do you distribute equally? How do you distribute? So how you distribute equally is, Lamai, you control, remember, the amount of goods you get. Yeah? The amount of goods you get depends on your income, Lamai. So what they do is, Lamai, they control and make sure everyone gets an equal income. You won't have perfect income equality. But from the rich people, Lamai, they'll charge huge taxes. From the poor people, for the poor people, they'll give huge subsidies, transfers. Then also they will set, Lamai, fair prices. Right? They will set fair price. That's why I say the wages. They will set equal income, lamai. As much as possible, they'll make sure that people have equal wages and they will set fair prices. Now, if all of us, lamai, all of us are earning, let's say 100,000 a month, that means all of us can equally buy the same amount of goods, no? Don't you think? So that's how they make sure equality, lamai. Not that they go house to house and say, this is your bread, this is your bread. Anyway, so here, so the government would aim to distribute goods. Be all based on the wage rates and the prices. They will make sure everyone gets the equal wage and the prices are pretty fair. So then everyone will get access to the same amount of goods. Maybe what you and me buy would be different, but I also can buy 100,000 worth of goods. You also can buy 100,000 worth of goods equally. But in a market economy, there could be people earning 20,000, there could be people earning 2 million. So it could be high disparities there. But here they will minimize that and distribute it as equally as possible. In India, there's a different story, right? You have the rich people running the government also. Okay, that's the command economy. So what are the good sides and bad sides, Lamai? Forget about what is there over here. Can you give me the advantages of a command economy? What do you think is the good side of? Now you can convert the disadvantages of a market into this, Lamai. What do you think? So here, right? Social welfare, right? So focus on social welfare. That could be a good thing, right? So high levels of social welfare being achieved. Right? What about the income inequality, right? You can say low levels of income inequality. You can't say equal distribution can not be, not that you will have perfectly equal not that in now, for example, in North Korea, that doesn't mean everyone is earning the exact same income. Never. So you can say minimized or low levels of minimized income inequality, right? You can give things like that. Then economic stability, right? Government runs, so there is macroeconomic stability. You can talk about things like that. Full employment, right? High levels of jobs created. There could be full employment of resources. What about the bad side, Lavai? Yes, merit goods can give. Bad side. When the government does the whole thing, Lavai, can you tell about choice? Consumer choice. Consumer choice, very, very low. What about, Lamai, the quality of the products that you might get? Quality of the products might be very low. Right? Now, when there is no competition, Lamai, there could be a wastage of resources. And when you have no competition, you will waste your resource. There could be environmental damage, Lamai. You can talk about that. Then very low levels of efficiency. Exactly. Low levels of efficiency. Lack of innovation. Lack of innovation. So, Anna, you can talk about things like that, Lamai. Bureaucratic delays. Exactly. You can say things like that. Those are the disadvantages. Done. Then, yes, innovation is difficult. Then, Lamai, we come into problems of coordination, definitely. Because it's not easy. Think, can the government run the entire economy, Lamai? Not an easy thing to do. Right. Right. So we have a few more. I have around 4 to 5 more slides. We can get this done. A bureaucratic delay can, Lamai, there is so much of delays now. If you want to get something, if it's a government thing, Lamai, so many processors, so many people have to approve. And that's what you say, bureaucratic delays here. Low quality goods, you can say quality might be low here. That's also fine. Okay. Done. Right. 9:29. We have half an hour to go. I have 5 more slides to explain. Yes, no consumer sovereignty, you can say that. Leave it at consumer choice. Done. Give me a second. Is it okay? Is it too fast? Manageable? Safe? I'm hoping that you have learned the unit before, Lama. I'm just giving a recap. For the ones who have learned the unit before, is it all right or is this too fast? I'm just quickly recapping, Lama. This note also, you refer to your theory note. The same thing, my theory class people, Lama. The same things are there in your theory note. You just, just make some additional notes. Others, Lama, you all can, whatever note you all have another note, no, school note or something. Just follow that, right? I will send these slides as well, but get that thing. So thing is, Lama, I can't go a lot slow also because then I can't finish. And then I can't go very fast also. When I go very fast, then you all will not understand. So I'm trying to, as much as possible, to use my 3 hours very wisely. And the other thing is, Lama, now I realize so many people ask me what time is class over. English medium students, Lama, you need to be lucky that you don't have a lot of classes that goes until late night and all. Look at the singular medium fellows. Singular medium fellows, Lama, they have crazy classes. They have classes, Lama, that starts around at 11 o'clock at night, goes until around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. They have classes like that. That is the dedication and the effort that those teachers, I will also not put that much of effort. That is my sleeping time. But that's the dedication, Lama, those teachers and even those students put to learn. I know a friend who does a class. He does a class until around 2 o'clock in the morning. Commerce stream. Now, even I remember my sister who did A-levels last year. For IT, they had a midnight class. Not every day. There are a few days that they had. The class starts at around 8 o'clock at night in an institute, physical, online in a way, physical, starts at around 8 o'clock at night, goes until around 8 o'clock in the morning. Then parents drop them at night. In the morning, the parents pick up. Once all the sun has risen and everything, they pick up. Probably they might have breaks, but that's a level of commitment that they put. You are just coming here and you are learning from 7 to 10. Sitting at one place from 7 to 10 itself is very hard for you. You're not even traveling. You're not even doing anything. You're just in front of your laptop. Some of you all are having dinner right now while having the dinner. Looking at the screen. And some of you all are getting a little bored. Some of you all are leaving. That's what you all are doing. So think of the commitment and the level of dedication that some people put. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe students might be sleeping in the daytime. The problem I have is with the teachers. What time do the teachers who do that class, what time do they test it? What time do they sleep? That's the problem. The teacher that my sister did IT with is no more. The person is abroad. So that's the issue. So that's the thing, right? You need to understand that this English medium fellows, you all are the, like the brought up in this posh kind of environment who wants all the facilities, who have all the comfort and all of that. That's the kind of people you all are. But you look at the single medium, the Tamil medium kind of fellows, these people put way more effort than you. Now, even just think, if you all don't understand something, you can Google. You can Google something, you can watch a video on YouTube. Now you have this chat GPT, all of that. Use use. Don't use chat GPT to get answers, but learn from chat GPT, right? If you all don't know chat GPT, go and use. So maybe if you don't understand, let's say market economy, ask chat GPT to explain what is a market economy. Ask to explain in very simple words. So, you can learn that. They also have the same syllabus, I agree. But the amount of resources that they have is much less than your they can't make a lot of use of the internet. Right? Internet, everything is in English. So yes, the people who are smart in the Tamil single medium, they might be able to understand a bit of English, but they don't understand economic terms. For example, they might not understand what is, let's say, consumer sovereignty. If they read something in English website that says consumer, they'll be like, what on earth is this? But you all have that advantage. You all have the whole YouTube and all of it, which you can watch videos. You have the whole AI now that is coming in with ChatGPT. So you have all the comfort now. You have all the comfort. You are at home, nicely sitting in front of a laptop or a phone, having your food. You would have come after school, had a nice nap, and now you're here at 7 o'clock. So for you, it's hard to stay 3 hours in the class. Think of the dedication that others are putting. That's the comparison that you will face at some point. Yes, at uni, it's English. So you all have that advantage. But remember that your island ranks, your Z scores, and all of it is not just from English medium. It's from everyone in the island there. But just because now the fact that it is easy for you all have to make use of it. Now that is why you have so many people coming among the top 100 in the island. Now, even if you take my students from the last batch, guys, was there a leaflet inside your file? I don't know if my printing guy would. Yes, no, inside your file. So if you would have seen that. So there are top 3 students who came to my class in the top 10 in the island. Top 10 in the island out of, let's say, around 55,000 students who do commerce is not an easy thing. But one thing that helps, I am not saying just because they came to my class, they got. Maybe if they went to another class also, they would have got. Right? On my end, I just teach them, I just push them, I just tell them what to do. Maybe another teacher also would have done that. I will not take credit because I don't teach them other 2 subjects. I don't study on behalf of them. But the fact that there is so many English medium students now getting ranks is because Lama, we have the resources, which the other mediums don't have. So other people, Lama, they are suffering and learning something, you learn it the easy way. You have Google, you have AI, you have YouTube and all of it. So have that in mind. You can do the normal 3 subjects and get a good rank as well. Nowadays, it might have a small time bit of a disadvantage here and there, but you can get a good rank. You can come on the top 200, top 300 in the island with even the normal 3 commerce subjects. So don't worry too much about that. Okay, right. So coming into the last economic system, a mixed economy. So my advice to you is work hard. There are people working even more harder than you, but that doesn't mean you have to stay up all night and work hard and also work smart, right? So work hard, get that done. You can do it. Just believe in yourself. If the others who came to my class can do it, the question is, why can't you do? You can also get it done. Is it compulsory to do JIT? When is JIT for y'all? I don't know. When is JIT for y'all? Did y'all already do JIT? Did they give you a day to do JIT? No? Not yet. No, I think the 25 batch did it. So JIT is not really compulsory. Even I haven't done. So the problem is in our school, they never even informed us, so no one did. So it's not compulsory. I also haven't done JIT. I had a island rank. I got into uni. It doesn't really matter. Your general knowledge matters, right? The JIT paper doesn't really matter too much. But if you're doing that from school, in school, if they teach you and all, something to learn, right? So don't just skip it. So get that done. You do it for your learning, not just for the grades that you get, because you learn something from it. And especially in the world, you need IT skills. If you think that just because you get 3 A's for A levels, everyone's going to come behind you and give jobs, that's the biggest mistake you're making. So GK and all, nothing to study, just be aware of what is happening around in the world. Give me 1 second, hold on, this thing is there. Okay, so coming into the, hold on. Okay. So we'll go into mixed economy, we'll finish that off, and then we'll do the quiz and finish off the class. So what's a mixed economy, Lama? Your A-level exam, most likely, I feel, might be close to around next year, around September-ish, is what I feel. They might sometimes bring it to August, but I think somewhere around September, October is where it could ideally be. Okay, right. So now we talked about, Lama, a market economy, we talked about a command economy. But in the real world, it's very hard to find pure market economics, where it's totally price mechanism, government is very rarely involved, and very hard to find pure command economics. So even if you take a country like US, it's close to being a market, not the perfectly market. Even North Korea and all, it's very close to being command. You might not have perfect command economics. So in reality, every economic system out there, will be a mixed economic system. So what is a mixed economic system? A mixed economic system, is where you have both the price mechanism and the planning mechanism both operating. Now, market economy is only price mechanism, command economy only planning mechanism. But here you have both of it operating now. So usually if you take the private sector, now even Sri Lanka would be a mixed one. So if you take the private sector, will use the price mechanism. And you have the government, they might use the planning mechanism. Now even think of education. Now tuition classes, private schools, private sector, right? Profit oriented price mechanism, they will charge a price, they will try to earn something. But think of government schools, government universities, and social welfare, right? They are planning mechanism. See how government and the private sector both work together. The price and the planning mechanism both work together. And that is what we call a mixed economic system. So in a mixed economic system, both the private sector and the government owns resources, right? You can go through. There are both this and also of the two mechanisms, which mechanism do you think is more dominant? Is it the price mechanism or the planning mechanism? The price mechanism, so I'll make a correction here, it's not the plan. The price mechanism is the one more dominant. How is Sri Lanka mixed economy? That's not a question that you should ideally be asking me. So just think, it has the characteristics. No? You have the government making decisions based on the planning mechanism, and you have The private sector making decisions based on the price mechanism. You have both of them operating together. That's what you call a mixed economy. Why is the price mechanism more dominant? Just think, now take Sri Lanka. We are a mixed economy. In Sri Lanka, when you try to do something, do you think of what's the benefit you can get, how much of profits you can make? Or do you think of whether this is good for the society or not? What do you think of? You think of yourself, right? You think of your personal thing, how much you can make, what is the profit you will get. That's what you think, right? Price mechanism, self-interest. So that's why even though both are there, price mechanism is usually a bit more dominant. So this mixed economy lama is what you classify into two. A mixed economy also, there are two types. So you have lama social market economies and socialist market. Now this socialist market is what I call China. So China is where socialist. Socialist means government owns the resources. Market means they use price mechanism. That's a socialist market. China. I explained this to you before. Then what is this social market? I'm not going through the note word by word. What's a social market, Laman? A social market economy is very similar to a market economy. So when I say very similar to a market economy, what does that mean? Mainly price mechanism, mostly private sector ownership, right? Mostly very similar to a market economy. But the government, Lamai, has a very strong role to promote social welfare, or in other words, social justice. So if anything unfair is happening, Lamai, government will always get involved. Sri Lanka is a good example for this. Now, even if you take Sri Lanka, now think, Lamai, in Sri Lanka, private sector is more dominant than the government. Private sector businesses, there are so many compared to government owned. No? So private resource ownership, private sector running the thing is much more dominant. So very like a market economy. But if there is anything that is unfair, government intervenes. So now take Sri Lanka. For the poor people, they don't have money, right? And the government gives something called Asvasumana. Then there are some people earning very rich, very high levels of income. And the government charges progressive taxes, like income taxes. Then there are students who might not have money to get into university. And the government gives Mahapola scholarships. And for retired people, they don't have money. And the government gives them pensions. So Anna, that is what you say, government intervening. So mainly price mechanism, right? Government runs most of the thing. Yes, EPF, ETF also, right? Government runs most of the, sorry, private sector runs most of the things. But if there is anything unfair, and the government intervenes. The government has a very strong role. Government can state. The state has a very strong role in providing these welfare services. So they will intervene. They will, if there's anything now, even take education. Government knows, now you have private education, you have private schools. Government knows all of them can't go to a private school. All of them can't afford to go to a private school. And that is why government has government schools. Then think of healthcare. Government knows not everyone can go to a private hospital. So under they have government hospitals. So whenever that, see that government has that very big state role. For what purpose? That they have that very big state role, Lamai, to promote this social welfare. And that is what you call, Lamai, a social market economy. Remember, very similar to a market economy, but government intervenes for that social welfare thing. Liberalist are people who think that the government should not get involved. Liberalist are people who think only the private sector should run. So this social market economy goes against that concept. They are against what the liberalists think. So liberalists are people who think if the government gets involved in the economy, it causes so much of issues, corruption, araga, meka, so many problems. So government should not get involved. But in a social market, government gets involved. That's why it says goes against the policies of a liberalist. So you can read the note now. I'm not going into detail word by word by word. That's a social market economy. Overall, who has the control? It's the private sector, but the government will influence. That's the story. And remember, Sri Lanka could also be a good example for something like this. Then you have my socialist market. This is like China. So what is socialist market? Government owns the resources, but they use price mechanism to allocate the resource. That is what you call a socialist market. Now remember, Lamai, social market and socialist are not the same. Now, social market, I told you, very similar to a market economy. That means price mechanism, private ownership. The private sector has a very big role. Government intervenes for social welfare. Socialist market is different level. It's not the complete opposite in a way. So socialist market is where the government owns all the resources, the land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, all of it is owned by the government. But but decisions relating to allocating those resources are done through what? Price mechanism. Sri Lanka is not an example of a socialist. Sri Lanka is, please listen, Lama, Sri Lanka is an example of a social market economy. You thought it's a mixed economy. That is correct. Mixed economy is only broken into social and socialist market economy. Okay. Mixed economy, there are two types, social and socialist market. Sri Lanka is a mixed economy, I agree. From those two types also what we are a social market. Before your name indicates, I mean, in the tute. The C there is just copyrights. So not that I have registered for copyrights. It's just a small copyright logo because so many people start copying. I know there are so many other teachers also who copy my notes and questions and all, but what to do? Can't help. If I start chasing all of those people one by one, then I will not have time to do anything. Let them do, I will do what I want. Social market price mechanism is not implemented. It is implemented. No, in both of it, you have price mechanism. In social market also, you have socialist market. It's not that both are complete opposite. You just need to know how they're different from each other. Okay, right. Right. That is that. Accounting teaches me, drop me a text. I'll send you some details. In both, yeah, price mechanism is done. Right. Then coming to the last one, Lamai, how does a mixed economy answer the basic economic problems? What's the difference? Go through my explanation. If you listen, you should have figured the difference. There is no clear difference saying this is the complete opposite, but you should know what those are. Okay. Right. So how does a mixed economy answer this question of what to produce? Remember, I told you price mechanism is the one mainly dominant. Now think of Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, how do we answer what to produce? We look at Lamai, the price signals. Okay, Sri Lanka is not a socialist. Please listen. Sri Lanka is a social market economy, Lamai, not a socialist market. Yeah. Don't daydream, please. Okay. Then coming into this. So if you look at the mechanisms, Lamai, I told you, price mechanism is the one that is a bit more dominant. Price mechanism, dominant planning. So in a mixed economy, now even if you take Sri Lanka, most of our decisions on what to produce and all will be based on price mechanism. No? So in a social market economy or a mixed economy, the decisions, Lamai, will mainly be solved using price mechanism. But now think, government will influence, right? Government will intervene to promote some sort of social welfare. Now take education, like I told you before. Mainly education, Lamai, private sector, private classes, private schools, private government. Private sector runs the show, price mechanism. But government knows not everyone can afford education and the government intervenes. See? So government intervenes, Lamai, government provides different public goods, right? For example, street light and all. Then Lamai, government provides things like healthcare, right? Government provides things like education and mainly using price mechanism, Thamai, but you have the government intervening to promote social welfare. So this market, does the government promote social justice? Socialist market? No. Socialist market, that social justice part is not there. The government is just there to own the resources. Okay. Then the how to produce. Again, same story. Mainly am I using the price mechanism. And they will look at what is the most profitable method, minimize their cost. That is how they will produce. But the government will intervene. For example, now if the government wants to promote employment, government will tell certain firms, okay, if you hire more than 1,000 people, we will give you a subsidy. Or we'll give you a tax incentive, we'll reduce your taxes. So government can influence that how to produce decision level. So mainly using price mechanism, but government will intervene. Okay, done. Then whom to produce? So in Sri Lanka, government does own some resources. Yes, government does own some resources. So I'm not saying government doesn't own lemon. What I said in social market is, I said it's similar, very similar to a market technology. So most resources are owned by the private sector. I didn't say all the resources are owned by the private sector. Even if you take Sri Lanka, most is owned by the private sector. Not everything. I totally agree that there are some resources owned by this as well. From the questions that I'm getting, Lama, I feel like some of you all have completely not learned this social market, socialist market. Go back to your school notes or whoever who taught you theory, unit number 1, it has to be there in your notes. For that, go back. If you are there in my class in unit number 1, recordings are there. That's the biggest advantage. 1 year later, even you can go back and watch. By any chance, if you're there in my class and if you can't remember socialist, go back to that unit 1 recording and watch. Right? It should be there somewhere. I'm just based on, I got around 20-30 questions asking things. I realized from that some people have not learned it at all. Okay, take that time. So then coming back to how to produce lamai. So again, mainly using price mechanism, but the government will intervene, right? Tax incentives, different things. And then whom to produce also, again, mainly price mechanism. Whoever who has the purchasing power will get the goods. Now think of Sri Lanka. Whoever who has the purchasing power gets the goods. So you get the goods. But then government influences. The rich people, government charges taxes. Poor people under government gives what? Government gives all these subsidies. So that's the whom to produce, store, trade. That's the part there. Just go through this. How does each of these economic systems answer the 3 basic economic problems? That's a very important thing. Very highly tested in your paper. Then have given a few advantages, disadvantages. Merit goods are the goods that give positive externalities. We learn that in unit number 8. Don't worry much. Transfer payments are like pensions, samurdis, asvasuma payments, Mahapola scholarships. Those are what you call transfer payments. Okay. Yes. One more thing that I also want to put into your head is sometimes in on WhatsApp, I get certain questions that you could easily Google and get the answer for that. Right. For example, sir, what is this? Now, for example, someone will ask, sir, what is, let's say, I don't know. Okay, like for example, let's say, look, now in class, you ask is a different story. Now, someone asked me now in class, sir, what are transfer payments? You ask in class completely, I agree. If we are learning in the unit, completely related. Sometimes randomly I get messages like that on WhatsApp also. Now, I'm not saying you not to send me a message on WhatsApp, fine. But then I also take days to reply to them because the amount of messages I get. You all are English medium students. You have all the benefits that the others don't have. So use that. Use the internet, use YouTube, use ChatGPT, use all of that. Use it properly for your learning purposes. You can do everything under the sun on the internet. Use it for your learning as well. Now, if you don't understand a certain concept, what we do now, we never had online classes when we did A-levels. We never even had the teacher's contact number. You can't WhatsApp the teacher like that. The only way you meet the teacher is maybe after class, you go to the teacher and you have to clarify doubts that way. Yeah. So what we do is you watch videos. And if you don't understand a certain part, now you don't understand market economics. Go to YouTube, watch 2 or 3 videos about market economics. Go to the internet and type, right? Market economy, what are the advantages, what is disadvantages, what are the characteristics? Read article or two. Go to, let's say, ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to, teach you. Ask ChatGPT, can you explain market economy in a very simple way? You can ask questions, so you can get all of that done on your end. So that has to happen on your end, I can't come and spoon feed and tell you, now go and search this and watch this. You all have that the other medium students don't have. So use so that you get that advantage actually. The books at the back, yes, that is that's my wife runs an online bookstore. So those are books from that you can buy. I think I would have shared a few flyers here and there sometimes in my status. I think some of you all have. You can do. Yeah, you can use ChatGPT. Use it properly though. Not you can't get exact answers from that, but you can use it for your learning. You have to be smart, now. Even in work and stuff, I use, but I use. You should know when to use, what to use, right? You can't get answers from that. So now sometimes even for some of your tute stuff, I might use, but sometimes ChatGPT gives me wrong stuff as well. Or then I know, this is wrong. So you can question, learn how to use that. So the website is just chatgpt.com, right? You make a free account and use. That's things that you will have to think at. So it's OpenAI. Means I think it's openai.com or something like that. Go there. That's it. My bookstore, sorry. My bookstore, the name is Allbook. It's Allbook. .lk, not mine. My wife mainly runs it. I just help with small things. Okay, right. So then the advantage and disadvantage of mixed economy, I'm not going into detail. So remember, it's a combination of both. So it will have combinations of both of this. Right. Books that I suggested depends. You can drop me a text based on what you're interested. I'll give you some suggestions. Okay, so that's the whole story about my economic systems. Now listen on what you need to do. First thing lamai is to study this area. Without studying lamai paper එක කරන්න බෑනේ. First study this area. Right? Take your whatever notes you have, maybe this slides, whatever theory note you have, product study. Right? That's why you have one entire week. Study the area. And once you are done with that, I will send you the polls as well. Once you are done with the studying lamai, now make the short note maybe, right? Which I see some of you all do, some of you all don't do. And now summarize what you study into one small page in revision paper 3, no. First page, there's a small place now for a short note. Make a small short note, summarize into one. Now, after studying, after making the short note, maybe what you can do is go and do the past papers also. While watching the YouTube video, if you want, you can do it alone. If you can't do it alone, I'll send you the YouTube video discussion of it. While watching the YouTube video, do the past papers. So now you would properly know what type of fast papers come, what type of all fit come. Once you're done with all of that, now go and do revision paper number 3. Now the problem with y'all is you don't do all of this, right? You just come to the class and then you think, now let me go and do revision paper 3. You can't do. That's the problem. Yeah, when making the short note, you can look at the tute and make. That's not a problem. So do all these, then revision paper 3 won't be hard. And still, if revision paper 3 is hard, then at least look at your note. Like I said before, don't copy and paste. Read the paper, go through your notes, those sections, close it, and then write on your own. You can do things like that. So I'll send a poll on all what you have to do for this week. Get that done. You can also now work on take home paper 2. You can do the past paper for focus area 3, revision paper 3, and take home paper 2. So then by the end of next week, ideally, you would have completed 8 papers. Of the 11 papers for unit 1, 8 papers would have really been done. So I'll send you the poll. Every time you put on the poll, some people vote, some people don't. For those who work, you vote on the poll. Right. Shall we then get into the quiz? We have a quiz to finish things off. I remembered I told you about a quiz at around 6:55. Then I tatagala made the questions. So that is that. Past papers, yes, you can watch the YouTube videos. Okay, right. So give me 1 second now. Let me load the quiz and let's share. Should we do all the paper to focus area element as much as possible? Try to do, even if you maybe all of it, if you can't finish, even if you finish most of it, that is all right. Give me a second. Let me load the quiz. So if you all saw some questions, let me load it. Give me a second. Okay. Quiz is loading. I'll give you instructions on how to join. Right. Recording, yeah. Can you drop me a text on WhatsApp? I'll give it. Okay. So this is the game link. Right? You can use a phone, laptop, or anything. You can use a game link and you can join. Or else, Lama, if you're using another device, you can go to the website www.kahoot.it. I'll ask you for a game pin. Enter the pin that is over here. 448-0124. 448-0124. Enter your name and you can join. So we'll see how it goes. I'll have my camera off. So I'll wait for a minute. I'll give you a cash prize here as well. In terms of the cash prize, how much do I give? So I'll keep it at 1,000 and a 500 and a 500 for second and third. Okay, 1,000 for the first place, 500 and 500 for the second and the third. Okay, so some questions will have double the points. Some questions Lama here will have 5 answer options. So the questions have been a little bit harder. You can get it done. So I'll wait for maybe 30 more seconds. There are 67 here. The others also you can join. For those who are not able to join, some technical issues here and there, you can send answers on the chat box. Okay, let's start. You can even join in the middle, Lama. Even after one question, you can join. Okay, starting. Yeah. Okay. Question number 1. The core difference between normative economics and positive economics is that positive economics relies on value judgments, normative is objective. Normative provides analysis while positive offers policy prescriptions. Normative is based on evidence while policy is not. Positive is based on opinions. Positive is fact-based while normative is value-based. What's the difference? Okay, it's a green one. I have no idea why there was a picture of that guy over there in this. Randomly, Kahoot put some pictures. I have no idea why that guy showed up in my quiz. Right. Okay, most of you got it right. So some questions, Lamai, which needs a little bit more time. Some questions are 20 seconds. Some question, like for example, this one, it was 30 seconds because the question was a little long. So some longer questions, I would have sometimes even given 45 seconds or even, let's say, 1 minute to get it done. Right. That's the leaderboard for now. Going to the next. Economic resources can be simply classified into 2 main categories, such as capital resources and natural resources, natural and human, labor and entrepreneurship, land and capital, property resources, and human resources. How do you classify economic resources? There are 5 options here. Property resources and human resources. Remember, land and capital is property. Labor and entrepreneurship is human resource. We learned it last class. In the first class. Okay, right. This is the leaderboard for now. That's one. Next one. What is not a benefit of division of labor? Not a benefit. Reduce total cost of producing goods, increase income inequality, increase skills of the workforce, increase ability to introduce innovation, increase productivity. If you did the past papers, you would have figured this out. Increase income equality is the one that is not a benefit of division of labor. Done. Okay, leaderboard has changed a bit. Next one. A free good has which of the following characteristics? A free good supplied by the government has some degree of scarcity. Its consumption or production does not generate externality. It is usually gifted by nature. It is supplied by the government free of charge. What do you think? Free good. Think of the examples, you can get the answer now. Free good is what? Like sunlight, rain, air. That's right. Gifted by nature. Unlimited in supply, gifted by nature. Okay, that's the answer there. Okay, leaderboard has changed a bit. Going to the next one. In an economy, personal income is determined by factor price in the factor market and government wage policy, factor price in the factor market and personal income taxes, government factor price policy, subsidies, property ownership and factor price in the factor market and the quantity exchanged at that price. Again, if you did the past papers, you can get this answer. This is a past paper question. And I taught you last week as well. Which one? I gave 1 minute here so that you can think and get the answer. 10 more seconds. Okay, all of you all have answered. Answer is the last one. Remember, I told you it's not just the property ownership, Lama, it's how much of property factors that you exchange in the market. Now, for example, I might own 5 houses, but that doesn't mean I earn money from all 5. How many houses have I rented? I own 5 houses, but I have rented only 2 houses. I'm exchanging only 2 houses. Only from those 2 houses, Lama, I will get income. It's not just how much of factors you own, it's how much of factors that you actually exchange from the amount that you own multiplied by the factor price. Now, even take your family. In your family, let's say there are 4 people. That means you have 4 labor. All of y'all are not working. From your 4 labor, let's say only your father is working. You all own 4 labor, but you're exchanging only 1 labor. So only your father is providing labor, only he's earning income. So income is not based on how much of factors you own, it's how much of factors you actually exchange multiplied by the factor price. So the answer is the last one. Most of y'all got that wrong. Okay, that's the leaderboard. Remember that. Next one. Question 6. The term human capital refers to what? Buildings and machinery, entrepreneurship and risk-taking ability, labor force employed in the health and education sector, the skills and knowledge of the labor force, the labor resource used to make capital equipment. What is human capital? That's an easy one, not that hard. No. Human capital is the knowledge, skills, experience that your labor force has. Good. Okay, that's the leaderboard for now. Top 5. Next one. Which of the following is not a factor of production? Money, natural resources, entrepreneurship, human resources, capital. Not a factor of production. That's a very easy one. Money is the one that is not. Natural resources, land and all becomes a factor, right? Now, if you take human resources, labor and entrepreneurship are human resources. They are factors. Okay, leaderboard, not much of a change. Next one. Which of the following is an example of land as a factor of production? Singaraja Forest, Magampura Harbour, Victoria Dam, Southern Expressway, Ambevela Farm. Which one is land? Land means it has to be a natural resource gifted by nature, not produced by man. The forest, no, the forest is not gifted, not produced by people. No, good. That's the leaderboard. Okay, we have 2 more questions. The income payments made to resource owners of labor, land, capital, and entrepreneurship, respectively, are wages, rent, interest, and profit, interest, wages, rent, and profit, rent, wages, interest, and profit, rent, wages, dividends, and interest, rent, profit, wages, and dividends. Which one? It's not the yellow one. Be careful. See, I've given the order differently. It's labor, land, capital, entrepreneurship. So labor is wages, land is rent, capital is interest, and this. Rent, wages, interest, and profit, that is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. I'm asking you respectively. So it has to be in order. Okay, that's the leaderboard for now. And then we have the last question. If I'm not mistaken, it's double the points. We'll see how it goes. Okay, let's double the points. Which of the following statement best explains the concept of capital in economics? Capital refers to produce means of production. Capital refers to human labor and innovation. Capital refers to financial resources. Capital refers to any financial investment. Capital includes only the tangible assets used for production. Again, a past paper question. In fact, all of those questions are past paper questions. I just made small changes here and there. Which one? It's not the last one, Ravai. Capital is not only the tangible assets, because capital also has things like human capital, social capital. They are intangible ones. And the answer is number one. Capital refers to a produced means of production. Capital is something that is man-made that can be used in production. So that's what the first answer talks about. Right. So we look at the leaderboard. We'll go into the answers. We'll see. So in third place, okay, we have Zulaiya in third. We have Salia in second. Just a little bit above. Whom do we have in first? We have Sima Malzuk on first, fourth, and fifth. We have Nairus, and I think it's Umaima on fifth. So good job, right? Again, all of those questions were actual past paper questions. Getting that done in around 20-30 seconds would have been difficult. But if you have done the past papers and come, that would have been easy. So I was just checking how many of you all actually did past paper focus area number 1 and number 2. All those questions were there in past paper focus area 1 and 2. I just made small changes here and there. Okay, right. So with that, we'll call it off. I'll send you a poll with all the work to do. I'll upload the recording in a day or two. I'll send you the slides. I'll send you the answers, all of that in the group. So see y'all and bye-bye. See y'all next week. Theory people, I'll see y'all on Thursday. See you.